Being chosen is about purpose, not popularity. Many people grow up believing that being selected means being celebrated, applauded, or placed in front of crowds. But purpose does not always begin with recognition. Often it begins in quiet places where character is formed and motives are tested. Popularity depends on public opinion, and public opinion shifts like the wind. Purpose, however, is rooted in something deeper and more stable. When you understand that you are chosen for purpose, you stop chasing validation and start pursuing growth. You begin to measure your progress by obedience, discipline, and impact rather than attention. This shift changes everything. It allows you to stay focused when no one is watching and to remain steady when praise is absent. Being chosen means you carry an assignment that is bigger than personal comfort. It means your decisions matter, your integrity matters, and your perseverance matters. The spotlight may or may not come, but the responsibility remains. When you accept that purpose is greater than popularity, you free yourself from the pressure to impress and instead commit yourself to becoming. That commitment builds strength that applause can never give and sustains you in seasons when recognition is nowhere to be found. Understanding this truth also protects you from comparison. Popularity invites competition because it is measured by numbers, influence, and visibility. Purpose invites contribution because it is measured by faithfulness and growth. When you focus on purpose, you stop asking why someone else is ahead and start asking how you can serve where you are. You realize that timing is part of the calling. Some assignments require preparation that cannot be rushed. Being chosen does not mean you will always feel confident or certain, but it does mean you are responsible for nurturing the gifts placed within you. That nurturing takes time, patience, and consistent effort. There will be moments when choosing purpose feels lonely because it may require saying no to distractions that promise quick attention. Yet in those decisions, your character is strengthened. You learn to value depth over display and substance over status. In the long run, popularity fades, trends change, and crowds move on. But a life built on purpose leaves a lasting mark. When you commit to purpose rather than popularity, you build something that does not depend on applause to survive. Divine truth is often revealed through pressure and perseverance. Many people expect clarity to arrive in calm moments, but understanding frequently deepens during challenge. Pressure has a way of exposing what is fragile and strengthening what is genuine. When responsibilities increase, when expectations rise, and when obstacles appear, something within you is tested. That testing is not designed to break you, it is designed to reveal you. Under pressure, distractions lose their appeal and priorities become clear. You begin to see what truly matters and what was only temporary. Perseverance becomes the bridge between confusion and clarity. Each time you choose to continue instead of quitting, you build endurance. Each time you respond with patience instead of frustration, you grow in maturity. Truth unfolds in layers, and those layers are often uncovered when you refuse to give up. Pressure refines motives, sharpens focus, and strengthens conviction. It teaches you to rely on discipline rather than emotion. In these moments, you discover that resilience is developed, not inherited. The challenges you face become tools shaping your perspective and deepening your understanding. Through steady perseverance, what once felt overwhelming begins to make sense, and the truth about who you are and what you are capable of becomes clearer. Perseverance is not loud or dramatic. It is steady and consistent. It shows up in small daily decisions to continue learning, improving, and trusting the process. When pressure stretches your limits, it invites growth beyond comfort. Instead of viewing difficulty as opposition, you can choose to see it as preparation. Growth rarely occurs without resistance. Just as muscles strengthen through tension, character strengthens through challenge. When you remain committed during uncertain seasons, you develop confidence that is rooted in experience rather than assumption. You begin to trust that clarity will come if you remain faithful to the journey. Pressure also reveals hidden strengths. Skills you did not realize you possessed surface when circumstances demand them. Wisdom develops as you reflect on lessons learned along the way. Over time, perseverance shapes a quiet confidence that does not depend on easy conditions. The truth revealed through these seasons is not exaggerated or dramatic. It is practical and grounded. It shows you that you can endure more than you imagined and remain steady when situations fluctuate. By embracing pressure as part of the process and committing to perseverance, you allow deeper understanding to form naturally, strengthening both your character and your direction. Isolation is often preparation, not rejection. There are seasons in life when the noise fades, invitations decrease, and the circle around you becomes smaller. At first, it can feel uncomfortable. You may question your value or wonder if you have been overlooked. But isolation is not always a sign that you are being pushed away. Sometimes it is evidence that you are being positioned for growth. In quiet spaces, distractions lose their power and reflection becomes possible. You begin to examine your thoughts, your habits, and your direction with greater honesty. Without constant external influence, your inner voice becomes clearer. Preparation requires focus, and focus often requires distance from noise. During isolation, skills are sharpened, discipline is strengthened, and priorities are reorganized. What feels like separation may actually be alignment. Instead of interpreting every closed door as rejection, consider the possibility that you are being redirected. Not every environment is meant for your development. Some spaces are comfortable but limiting. Isolation creates room for deeper understanding and intentional growth. It provides the opportunity to build foundations without pressure to perform. In those private moments, resilience is formed quietly and consistently. When the season shifts and new opportunities appear, you will recognize that the time spent alone was not empty, it was essential. Preparation in isolation also strengthens independence and clarity. When you are removed from constant affirmation or criticism, you learn to stand on conviction rather than opinion. This builds confidence that is stable and not easily shaken. Isolation encourages self-discipline because there is no audience to impress. The effort you put in becomes personal and purposeful. You learn to value progress even when it is unseen. These moments refine your mindset and develop patience. Growth that happens privately often produces strength that lasts publicly. Isolation also teaches discernment. You begin to understand which connections support your direction and which distract from it. As clarity increases, so does intentionality. You make decisions based on long-term purpose rather than short-term comfort. Although isolation can feel slow, it carries momentum beneath the surface. Roots grow deeper before branches expand outward. When the time comes to step forward again, you will do so with greater stability and understanding. What once felt like being set aside will reveal itself as being set apart for a reason. Trials refine identity and strengthen conviction. Difficult seasons have a way of asking direct questions. Who are you when comfort is removed? What do you believe when outcomes are uncertain? It is easy to define yourself by success, roles, or approval, but trials strip those layers away and reveal what remains underneath. When plans shift and expectations are challenged, you are invited to examine the foundation of your identity. This process is not dramatic, it is deliberate. Each obstacle exposes assumptions and invites growth. Instead of reacting with frustration, you can choose reflection. Reflection transforms hardship into insight. Through trials, you discover whether your confidence is rooted in circumstances or in character. You learn to separate temporary setbacks from lasting identity. Conviction begins to form when you stand firm despite discomfort. It is shaped when you continue to act with integrity even when shortcuts appear attractive. Trials refine your values because they force you to decide what truly matters. When you choose patience over impulse and principle over convenience, your identity becomes clearer. You begin to understand that who you are is not defined by what happens to you, but by how you respond. This awareness builds quiet strength that remains steady beyond changing conditions. Conviction grows stronger when tested consistently. Without challenge, beliefs remain unproven ideas. With challenge, they become lived experiences. Trials provide the opportunity to practice resilience in real time. Every time you uphold your standards during pressure, your confidence deepens. This is how stability is formed. You stop seeking constant reassurance because you have evidence of endurance. Difficult moments also clarify purpose. When distractions fall away, your priorities sharpen. You learn to distinguish between what is urgent and what is important. This clarity strengthens commitment. Instead of being easily swayed by opinions or temporary trends, you become anchored in principle. Trials do not exist to diminish you, they exist to develop you. Through steady perseverance, uncertainty transforms into understanding. The lessons gained during hardship become tools for future decisions. As identity becomes more defined, your actions align more closely with your values. Conviction then moves from theory to practice. You stand with greater confidence, not because circumstances are perfect, but because your foundation has been tested and proven strong. Truth demands courage and obedience. Recognizing what is right is one thing. Choosing to act on it is another. There are moments when clarity enters your mind and you understand the direction you should take, yet hesitation follows closely behind. Courage becomes necessary when truth challenges comfort. It asks you to step forward even when outcomes are not guaranteed. Obedience, in this sense, is not passive submission, but intentional alignment with what you know is right. It requires humility to admit when adjustments are needed and discipline to follow through consistently. Truth often disrupts routine because it calls for growth. It may require ending habits that no longer serve your development or walking away from environments that limit your progress. These decisions are rarely easy, but they strengthen integrity. When you act according to truth, you build trust within yourself. That internal trust becomes a source of stability. Courage does not eliminate fear, it moves forward despite it. Obedience does not mean perfection, it means persistence. Each time you choose alignment over avoidance, your confidence grows. You begin to understand that truth is not meant to remain theoretical. It is meant to be practiced daily through decisions, conversations, and commitments. Living in alignment with truth also develops resilience. When opposition arises, courage keeps you steady. When distractions attempt to pull you away, obedience keeps you focused. This process builds consistency in character. Instead of being guided by impulse or pressure, you are guided by principle. Over time, this consistency shapes reputation and influence. People may not always agree with your choices, but they will recognize your integrity. Truth requires accountability because it invites you to measure actions against values. This measurement strengthens discipline and encourages growth. When mistakes occur, courage allows you to acknowledge them, and obedience leads you to correct them. This cycle of reflection and adjustment deepens maturity. Choosing truth repeatedly forms habits that support long-term stability. It reduces internal conflict because your actions match your convictions. The result is clarity and confidence that do not depend on approval. Courage and obedience work together to transform understanding into action. Through steady commitment, truth becomes visible not only in words, but in the way you live, respond, and lead. Faith transforms pain into power. Pain is an inevitable part of growth, yet it does not have to define the outcome of your story. When challenges arise, you have a choice in how you interpret them. Faith does not deny difficulty, it reframes it. It allows you to see hardship as a chapter rather than the conclusion. Through faith, setbacks become lessons and disappointment becomes direction. This transformation begins internally. Instead of asking why something happened, you begin to ask what can be learned from it. That shift in perspective creates resilience. Pain often exposes areas that need healing or strengthening. Faith encourages patience during that process. It builds the ability to endure discomfort without losing hope. Power, in this context, is not control over circumstances, but control over response. When you maintain belief during uncertainty, you develop emotional stability. You discover strength that was previously hidden beneath comfort. Faith invites trust in growth that may not be immediately visible. Just as seeds develop beneath the surface before emerging, transformation can occur quietly within. Over time, the pain that once felt overwhelming becomes evidence of endurance. It becomes a reminder that you can move forward despite obstacles. This realization strengthens confidence and renews determination. As faith deepens, your relationship with adversity changes. You stop viewing every challenge as opposition and begin to see it as preparation. Pain refines empathy, making you more understanding toward others facing similar struggles. It sharpens awareness and increases gratitude for progress. Through consistent belief, you learn that strength is built gradually. Each time you persevere, you add another layer of resilience. Faith also encourages reflection. Instead of reacting impulsively, you pause and consider the lesson within the experience. This thoughtful response transforms reaction into growth. Over time, the narrative of your pain shifts. What once seemed like limitation becomes part of your foundation. Power emerges from the wisdom gained through experience. You carry insight that cannot be taught without endurance. Faith does not promise immediate relief, but it promises development. By holding on to belief during difficult seasons, you allow pain to shape maturity rather than bitterness. The result is steady confidence rooted in lived experience, enabling you to face future challenges with clarity and strength. Purpose unfolds progressively, not instantly. Many people expect clarity to arrive all at once, as if direction should appear fully formed and detailed from the beginning. In reality, growth is gradual. Understanding deepens step by step, shaped by experience and reflection. When you accept that purpose develops over time, you release unnecessary pressure to have every answer immediately. Instead of rushing ahead, you begin to value each stage of the journey. Early responsibilities prepare you for greater ones. Small assignments strengthen discipline for larger opportunities. Progress may feel slow, but steady development builds lasting stability. Each lesson learned adds structure to your direction. When setbacks occur, they are not evidence of failure, but part of refinement. You adjust, learn, and continue forward. Patience becomes essential because meaningful growth cannot be forced. Just as foundations must be solid before a structure rises, your character must be shaped before your influence expands. By focusing on daily consistency rather than dramatic breakthroughs, you build momentum that compounds over time. The gradual unfolding of purpose allows you to mature with your calling. As understanding increases, so does responsibility. This alignment ensures that when greater opportunities appear, you are prepared to handle them with wisdom rather than impulse. Embracing progressive growth also encourages humility and persistence. When you recognize that development is ongoing, you remain open to learning. You become comfortable refining your skills and adjusting your approach. Instead of being discouraged by what you do not yet know, you concentrate on what you can improve today. This mindset builds resilience. It reminds you that direction becomes clearer through action. Each decision provides feedback, guiding you toward greater precision. Over time, patterns emerge that confirm your strengths and highlight areas needing growth. Purpose is often clarified through participation, not observation. As you engage consistently, confidence increases because it is supported by experience. Gradual progress also strengthens gratitude. You begin to appreciate milestones that once seemed small because you understand the effort behind them. This awareness keeps motivation steady. Rather than chasing quick recognition, you invest in long-term development. Purpose that unfolds progressively creates depth and stability. It ensures that growth is sustainable and grounded. Through patience and consistent effort, what once appeared distant becomes achievable, not through sudden change, but through faithful progression. Walking in truth requires boldness, discipline, and consistency. Once you understand what is right for your life, the next challenge is living it out daily. Boldness is necessary because truth will not always align with popular opinion. There will be moments when standing firm feels uncomfortable, especially when others choose easier paths. Boldness does not mean aggression, it means clarity. It means knowing your values and refusing to compromise them for temporary approval. Discipline supports that boldness by creating structure around your decisions. Without discipline, strong intentions fade under pressure. Daily habits, focused effort, and intentional boundaries protect your direction. Consistency then reinforces both boldness and discipline. It transforms isolated actions into reliable patterns. When you repeatedly choose alignment with your principles, your confidence grows naturally. You stop second-guessing your direction because your actions confirm your commitment. Walking in truth is not about dramatic statements. It is about steady practice. Each day presents opportunities to either align with your values or drift away from them. By choosing alignment repeatedly, you strengthen integrity. Over time, this integrity becomes visible in your character, influencing how you lead, respond, and serve. Truth expressed consistently builds trust, both within yourself and with others. Consistency also protects progress during uncertain seasons. Motivation can fluctuate, but disciplined habits maintain stability. When challenges arise, boldness keeps you from retreating, and discipline keeps you focused on what matters. This combination builds resilience that does not depend on circumstances. Walking in truth requires awareness because distractions are constant. Opportunities may appear attractive, yet pull you away from your core direction. Consistent reflection helps you evaluate whether your actions match your beliefs. When adjustments are necessary, boldness allows you to make them without hesitation. Over time, living this way reduces internal conflict. Your decisions align with your convictions, creating clarity and peace. Others may not always understand your choices, but they will recognize your steadiness. Truth practiced daily becomes part of your identity rather than an occasional effort. It shapes your reputation and strengthens your influence. Through boldness, discipline, and consistency, you create a life that reflects conviction in action. This steady commitment ensures that your path remains clear, grounded, and purposeful regardless of external pressure. Self-awareness anchors the journey of the chosen. Before influence expands outward, understanding must deepen inward. Many people attempt to fulfill purpose without first examining their own motives, strengths, and limitations. Self-awareness creates alignment between intention and action. It invites honest reflection about why you pursue certain goals and how your experiences have shaped your thinking. This honesty prevents distraction because you are not easily swayed by trends or comparisons. When you understand your values clearly, decisions become more focused. You recognize which opportunities align with your direction and which simply offer temporary attention. Self-awareness also strengthens emotional intelligence. It allows you to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. In moments of criticism or praise, you remain steady because your identity is not dependent on external voices. Instead, it is grounded in clarity about who you are becoming. Growth requires adjustment, and awareness highlights areas that need refinement. Without it, progress becomes inconsistent. With it, development becomes intentional. You begin to notice patterns in behavior and thought, making it easier to replace unproductive habits with constructive ones. This steady reflection builds maturity. It ensures that your journey is not only active, but meaningful. As self-awareness increases, confidence becomes more stable. You no longer overestimate your abilities nor underestimate your potential. Instead, you approach responsibilities with balanced perspective. This balance encourages collaboration because you recognize when guidance is beneficial. It also fosters humility, which strengthens leadership. Self-awareness supports resilience during setbacks. Rather than blaming circumstances, you evaluate what can be learned and improved. This mindset transforms obstacles into opportunities for refinement. Over time, reflection becomes a consistent practice rather than an occasional response. You pause, assess, and adjust with intention. This discipline protects long-term growth. It keeps you aligned with purpose even when circumstances change. When you know yourself, you are less likely to compromise your values for approval. You move forward with clarity because your actions reflect internal understanding. Self-awareness does not create perfection, it creates progress. It ensures that each step taken contributes to meaningful development. Through honest reflection and steady adjustment, your journey remains grounded, focused, and authentic. Responsibility confirms the calling. It is one thing to believe you are chosen for purpose, but it is another to carry that belief with maturity. Responsibility transforms potential into measurable progress. It requires you to manage your time wisely, honor commitments, and approach every task with diligence. When you understand that your actions influence outcomes beyond yourself, your perspective shifts. Small duties are no longer seen as insignificant. They become training grounds for greater trust. Responsibility builds credibility because it demonstrates reliability. People begin to recognize consistency in your effort and integrity in your decisions. This recognition is not pursued for praise but earned through steady character. Accepting responsibility also means acknowledging mistakes without defensiveness. Growth accelerates when you are willing to learn rather than justify. Each correction strengthens competence. Instead of avoiding challenges, you face them directly because you understand they refine capability. Responsibility develops discipline by encouraging preparation rather than reaction. When you plan carefully and execute faithfully, confidence grows naturally. Over time, this pattern forms stability that supports long-term vision. Purpose becomes visible not only in words, but in dependable action. Living responsibly also protects momentum. Opportunities often expand for those who demonstrate faithfulness in present assignments. When you handle current obligations with excellence, you prepare for greater influence. Responsibility requires balance. It asks you to prioritize what matters most while maintaining awareness of long-term goals. This balance prevents burnout and supports sustainable growth. By honoring deadlines, respecting others' time, and maintaining standards, you cultivate trust. Trust becomes the foundation for collaboration and leadership. Responsibility also shapes mindset. You move from asking what you can gain to asking what you can contribute. This shift increases impact because your focus extends beyond personal benefit. Challenges will arise, but responsible individuals respond with solution-oriented thinking rather than complaint. They adapt, adjust, and continue forward. Through consistent accountability, your calling becomes evident in practical ways. Responsibility confirms that your purpose is not merely an idea, but a commitment expressed through action. As you embrace this commitment daily, your influence strengthens steadily and authentically.